The Guide to Goals podcast gives you the tools, direction, and resources you need to pursue your passion project. I'm Deborah Eckerling, Project Catalyst, and this is the Guide to Goals podcast. Our guest today is Blake Jamieson, and we're going to talk about using your hustle. Blake is a content marketer who specializes in helping brands and individuals stand out in a noisy digital world. He's the author of Tinder Hacks and creator of TwitterWorkshop.com. Thanks for joining us, Blake. How are you doing?
Doing great. Thanks for having me, Deb.
Thank you. So why don't you tell our audience a little bit about you, the hustle guy?
Sure. I don't really know where to start. I guess, so in 2009, after I graduated college, I started working at Zynga, which is a gaming company. And that was kind of first dabbling, I guess, in content marketing, but I was actually hired for something entirely different. But a project was presented to our team, and I was the only one that raised my hand. So I got to do this cool video for Zynga, and then that kind of snowballed into content marketing for me, I guess. So before that, I was actually a bartender, and so just relating to like different people and understanding that every single person I encounter like is a little bit different and needs kind of a different messaging, needs a different approach, I guess was the early days and what kind of was born into my content marketing and hustle. But I've always been a hustler, I guess, at the bar, hustling for tips, now content marketing, hustling for attention. So, yeah.
And I would say, and I'm guessing you would agree, if you have a passion project, you have to work your hustle, right? Because how else are you going to get yourself out there?
Yeah, I mean, I think like working on your passion kind of projects and hustle go hand in hand. I don't think it's you have to hustle if you work on your passion. I think it's more you will hustle harder if you're working on something that you're passionate about because it doesn't feel like work. It doesn't feel like hustling. You're just doing what you love. So yes, I think they definitely go hand in hand. I think it's kind of you hustle because you're passionate about something, and if you're not passionate about something, then maybe you aren't going to hustle as hard. You're not going to try as hard, and so yeah, I think it kind of works like that.
Okay, so we're all like chicken egg situation here. Do something
Yes.
you love, and you'll hustle more. You hustle more, you get to do more of what you love.
Definitely.
So for people who aren't a hustler by nature, what advice do you have to sort of get them in that mode?
Oh man, that's tough. I think if somebody's not hustler by nature, maybe they're just not working on the wrong thing. Maybe they're not working on the right things. And so maybe, like you said, chicken and the egg, maybe it's the wrong egg. And you can't hatch the wrong egg or something. I don't know. I think, I don't know. For me, like it just, anytime that I'm doing something that I enjoy, I work really hard and I put out my best efforts. And when I'm doing something that I don't love, don't enjoy, then eventually I'll burn out. But if it's something that I'm wildly passionate about, then I don't seem to burn out and I just kind of keep going and keep hustling. And so, yeah, I mean, I think that if somebody's not like a hustler by nature, then maybe they're doing the wrong things and they need to kind of reevaluate what they're working on.
Well, you always have like dozens of things going on simultaneously. I don't think I'm exaggerating. Am I exaggerating?
No, not really.
Okay, so how do you juggle everything?
Yeah, that's a good question. I feel like honestly, like I'm super ADD and I'm all over the place. And so when I have a dozen projects going on at one time, I'll work on something. As soon as I get to like a sticking point or I get stuck with something or I get tired of something, then I can just move to something else and continue working full steam ahead on something that I enjoy. And so I guess for me, like having a bunch of different projects is a way for me to like not get burnt out, because if I work on one thing for so long, I'll hop over to something else. And then any kind of issues that I kind of ran into in the first project, whether that's just being tired of doing it or an actual kind of creative problem that I need to solve, I feel like that always comes to me when I'm not doing it. So I'm doing something else. But I don't just want to like sit idle. So yeah, I mean, I guess that ends up with me having a bunch of stuff going on at one time.
I frequently recommend, which you know, because we've talked about this, you need to have an alpha and a beta project. You've got like the entire Greek alphabet, which is
Yeah.
fine.
Yes.
Because so what exciting what exciting example of something that, and you know what I think your answer is going to be, something that you stumbled upon that just got all this motion.
Sure. You teed that one up nicely. Yeah, so I guess the one that I stumbled into the most would be the Tinder Hacks book that I wrote, which is basically a guide for helping guys do better on Tinder. So for anybody that doesn't know, Tinder is a dating app. You can log on and you see a bunch of pictures of people around you of the opposite sex, and you can swipe them left or right depending on if you like them or don't like them. And then if you match with somebody, you both like each other, then you can message each other and meet up for a date or other romantic things. So when I moved to Phoenix, Arizona, which is actually where I'm at now, um, I didn't really know anybody here besides a few people at my job that I was taking. And so I decided to use Tinder to kind of, and well, Tinder was the platform, and use my content marketing experience and knowledge and try and kind of make myself stand out on Tinder. And so I modified my profile picture to look as if I was endorsed by Tinder as like the hot match of the day or kind of the featured match or whatever. And then I blogged about it, and that took on an entire life of its own and got this massive audience and went viral. So I ended up writing an ebook because I had to do something with the traffic, and that has done insanely well for me over the past 18 months, and still continues to sell copies every day, which is cool.
Yeah, you got noticed, you got interviewed.
Yeah, it was picked up by Adweek, was the first major media network, and then it just like snowballed into all these things. It was Business Insider, Ask Men, Made Man, FHM, MSN. It was just like so many. Last month I was in Red Bull magazine for the world record of most matches for a guy on Tinder, which is cool. So yeah, I mean it was accidental, to be honest. It was a fun project. It was I guess a passion thing for me, or just an experiment, and then it just went unexpectedly viral and took on a life of its own. It's been a wild ride.
And I guess then it just proves that if you're doing something, whether it's for fun or because you're building your business, if you get all excited about it, you really don't know what's going to come of it.
Yeah, I mean, I think uh, I was excited about it in the fact that it was different than anything that I'd done before, and so I was excited to write this blog about this fun experiment. And Tinder was this, goofy app that had been gaining traction, and I kind of knew that in the back of my mind. But like, I've literally like written articles about content marketing, about social media, fingers crossed, hoping with the end goal, like hopefully this goes viral or gets me some kind of press or has any kind of snowball effect, and it's never been anything close to this. So it was totally by accident, to be honest. And it was a matter of hours after it started to like Adweek reporter reached out to me, and all this stuff like just started to happen, and I'm like, holy crap, this is much bigger than I planned. And I was trying to hustle to capitalize, I guess, on that traffic or that attention, because I knew that it was about to get crazy.
And so let's put on your content marketing hat.
Hmm.
Because I want to give the people who are listening some actionable things that they can do when they're done listening. They're like, okay, Blake ruled the hustle because he took a content marketing approach to something fun. So
Sure.
what recommendations do you have for someone who just doesn't know where to get started with their content marketing?
Sure. So I guess I think the common thread between what has turned out to be Tinder Hacks and also just my general content marketing efforts is using all the tools that everyone has access to. I mean, everyone has access to Tinder, just like everyone has access to all the other channels that I do content marketing for brands with, Twitter, Facebook, any social media channel, basically. And so With Tinder, I basically looked at like, okay, this is the box that we're supposed to play in. These are all of the different things that we can do. What do we have control over? Well, we have control over our profile pictures, our bio, and a couple other things like who you want to match with. So for me, I'm like, okay, so within the profile picture and bio, is there anything that I can do to make myself stand out and get more attention within that box that I have to play in? And the real estate in the profile picture to kind of make it look like it was endorsed to me seemed like the best option for me. And so I guess like an example to make it, not everyone is going to do Tinder stuff. So like on Twitter, you can do, you could tweet to people 140 characters or a picture or a video. And so that's kind of the box that we're supposed to play in. And if I want to go out and get somebody's attention, what I need to do is something that is within that box, but still outside of what most, 95% of people are doing. And on Twitter specifically, that's video, because I don't know if people are scared to get on video or they don't know it's possible, but you can literally take a 30-second video on Twitter, send it to somebody as a tweet, and you can still have all of your characters, and then it's got this video attached. And so I've found that that's just wildly successful in getting attention, because Twitter's super noisy, and anybody logs onto Twitter in their home feed, they have post, and they're always just updating and just kind of cascading down. And so to do something a little bit still within the box, but just different enough to get attention, I'll send almost as many of my new followers as possible personalized video tweets that would say something like, "Hey Deb, thanks for following me. I hear you got a podcast. I'm gonna have to check that out. I hope you have a great day." That just it's so simple, but it's so much different than what most people do, that it's enough to get you the attention on your content. So yeah, I guess that's a real world example of they can do video tweets, but really just thinking about like all of the constraints that exist within a certain platform. How are most people using it? Okay, let's do something a little bit different just to stand out.
And that's where brainstorming comes in. When you come up with ideas, do you brainstorm, or do they just fall out of your head constantly? You can say if it's the second one. It's okay.
I get a lot. I get ideas all the time, I guess, kind of falling out of my head or whatever. So like something that used to kind of plague me was like I didn't sleep very well, because I'd wake up in the middle of the night and I'd have this idea to be like, oh, I could do this, and then I'd just be like, even trying to force myself back to sleep, like I just couldn't fall back asleep, because in my brain I kept being like, I can't forget this, I got to remember in the morning. So I started sleeping with like a notepad, little moleskin journal next to my bed. And if I wake up and I'm thinking about something more than like 30 seconds, I'll just like lean over, write it down really quick, and then I have no problem falling back asleep, because my brain just knows like, okay, that's logged for the next day. So I definitely like use notebooks and journals a ton just to like write down ideas. But if you look at like, I know that I have like a dozen projects going on, but if you look at all of those and compare it to like all of the notes, whether it's like in my iPhone or in my moleskin journals, I don't act on much, I guess, comparatively. There's so many ideas, and some of them probably are forgotten, and I could like thumb through and be like, wow, that was great, I should do that. But I don't know, I've only got time for about a dozen things at once, so got to be careful.
And so in addition to journals, do you have any other favorite tools or resources you like?
So it depends. If we're talking about like online, like computer tools, I guess I use Google Calendar like crazy. And what I'll do is, I've kind of fallen out of it lately. I've got this crazy schedule, but usually what I try to do is every Sunday evening, I'll spend at least an hour, hour and a half just setting up my calendar for the whole week, starting with Monday, going through the following Sunday, and just kind of blocking out, and I'll color code like different projects or different things that I want to do within the rough time frame. And that'll also have any like fixed appointments like this. And so I'll set that all up, and then as I go through my week, like throughout, each day, even if I say, okay, from whatever 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. I'm going to work on writing XYZ, but I only actually end up writing from 8 to 9, and then 9 to 10 I do something else. I'll actually go in and like be modifying it on the fly to say, okay, well, I did this until then. And so like it's cool for me because part of it is like keeping me organized, make sure, okay, I'm going to get everything I need to done because I've got a lot of different projects. But on the other hand is like it's really cool to look back on it now and say like, oh, a month ago or even a year ago, because I've been doing this for, I don't know, at least the 18 months I've been in Arizona, I could literally look back and see how much time I spent on each project, which is cool because when something like Tinder Hacks totally takes off, and then, Tinder Hacks has a special color in Google Calendar. If I go back and look at all the time I spent on Tinder Hacks, it's almost none in the last 18 months. But before that, it was like concentrated like 10 hours a week, 10 hours, 20 hours, whatever. But it's just cool for me to like go back and say, wow, like that thing that I spent 30 or 40 hours on in early 2014 is still paying me near the end of 2015, which is insane to think
Amazing.
about.
That's just amazing.
Yeah.
Real quick, work-life balance. What do you do to keep your priorities in alignment?
Uh, so so right now I'm in kind of transition. I'm in Arizona at the very time being, but I'm moving back to Los Angeles, which is uh, where I used to live before Arizona. So here in Arizona, it's doing things. So like so much of my world as like a content marketer, digital entrepreneur is sitting on the computer, looking at this bright screen, typing all day, slouching too much. Um, so just like getting up and doing things with my hands is really important to me for like change of pace. So I've been remodeling this house that I'm living in, and it's awesome. Like stepping away from the computer and just building something and seeing it like as a couple pieces of wood to, oh, now this is a cabinet or that, whatever it is. That's super rewarding to me, and it's still work. Um, but that's to me is like life balance, because to me like work is sitting in a computer, and if I can go and do something with my hands. When I'm in Los Angeles, a little bit different story. I don't own a house in LA because that's massively expensive, but I do like to surf a ton, and so any day that I can get to the beach, preferably super early in the morning before most people go to the beach, is super important to me and helps kind of set the tone for the whole day.
Great. Well, I want to give our listeners some assignments before we go, and I don't think we can give surfing,
Okay.
but I'd say to step away from the computer and do something this week, whether it's to cook or build
Mhm.
something or just something that is not electronically inclined at all. I think
Mhm.
that should be the personal goal. And
Mhm.
the professional goal is to brainstorm 20 think outside the box ideas that you could do things a little different to get your hustle on for your
Yeah.
project.
And for that first part, I think the extra credit is if it gets your heart rate up, I think it helps. So,
Exercise.
cooking is awesome, but if it gets your heart beating, I think it's extra points.
Thank you so much, Blake Jamieson, for joining us today and
Of
for
course.
sharing your hustle with the Guided Goals community. This is Deborah Eckerling for the Guided Goals podcast. And everybody, you have your marching orders. Go on and go for it.